各位读者，你们好。这里是第6届中欧国际文学节。本届文学节的主题是女性视角，字里行间。那么很高兴今天的这场活动，我们和3位女作家来讨论这个共同的话题。那么这一场活动的主题是寻找文学的缪斯。我们邀请到匈牙利的女作家范尼索托、罗马尼亚的女作家安德里亚 H 哈迪斯以及我们中国的女作家包慧怡老师3位来一同探讨这个问题。我是主持人百灵。
Thank you.
Thank you. 在今天的这个主题讨论中，我们会请到这3位都是多才多艺的女作家，我们会注意到她们所涉及的领域都是多方面的，是跨界的，所创作的题材呢也是丰富多样的。那么在讨论之前，请允许我来简要的介绍一下3位作家的简介。首先是来自匈牙利的范尼索托女士，她是一位作品颇丰的匈牙利作家、诗人、作词家，现在住在巴黎。受到童话故事的启发，最喜欢的创作方式是将现实和想象交织。来自罗马尼亚的安德里亚 H 哈迪斯则是诗人、作家、文学评论家和出版商，作品被广泛翻译，并且风格多元，有童话集、故事集和小说等等。而中国的包慧怡老师是中英双语青年作家，爱尔兰都柏林大学中世纪文学博士，复旦大学英文系副教授，研究的领域是古英语和中古英语文学、中世纪手抄本等图文互动。那么我们今天的3位女作家都是多才多艺、横跨多个领域的作家。那么我们的话题呢，是在多种题材中寻找到各位不同的灵感缪斯，来谈论一下，以及谈论一下你们的阅读和写作生活。我们会逐一的展开今天的讨论。首先呢，第一个问题是想和3位作家来谈一谈你们进行跨领域写作的动因，因为我们是3位作家同时讨论，所以还是会有一个发言的一个顺序。首先呢，谈到的是匈牙利的范尼索托女士。我注意到你的很多访谈里面谈到，你应对痛苦的办法是将痛苦转化为艺术，并且你最喜欢的艺术类型就是现实与想象的交织。可不可以具体和我们谈一谈您所持有的这种艺术观念？因为您总是倾向于将生活中的困境放到艺术中去，而不是在艺术中逃避它。所以这种观念，您可以给我们，比如说结合具体的作品来谈一谈。谢谢。
Of course, well, I'm not very original when I say that I use my troubles or things that happen to me in real life to fuel my art. But I am really grateful to writing and art that it helped me through many troubled times. And I think that the past 2 years have been very difficult for many of us with lockdown and COVID and all the stress. And I found this a time when I could use all this anxiety and the loneliness that I couldn't meet my family, couldn't see my friends, to create beautiful words. And I really think that some of my happiest, coziest work was born from this wish to create a universe where things are better. Another thought I have is that I think that reality can be sometimes bleak and a little bit depressing, and I like to use fairy tales and stories to bring in the magic, because I think there is magic in our world, but it's hidden. So you find it through stories, through finding the connections, and through music, and basically through art. So that's a feeling I try to recreate in my work. And even if, so I've just finished my first English language novel this year, and it's a realist story. So there is nothing fantastic happening in it, but stories and fairy tales form an important part of it. The characters tell each other stories, and the act of storytelling reveals a lot about the narrator, and it helps to portray their relationship. So to me, stories are also a connection between humans. Okay, that's all I think.
好，谢谢范妮。那么我们接下来会 请到罗马尼亚的安德里亚女士来谈一谈，因为我看到您说过一个很有意思的说法，说多流派的创作，您认为是文学创作的最好的办法，而且您自己也是这么实践的。而我们了解到您最新的一部小说叫做《危险街道上的会议》，这本小说可以说据说是这种实践的产物。您能不能具体的结合这本小说来跟我们谈一谈您的这种观念呢？谢谢。
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for being invited here. It's a privilege and an honor to me. I am very fond of Chinese culture, so I'm very glad for being here and also for being here with my two colleagues from Hungary and from China. And I also want to acknowledge the great theme and the great title of this theme. It is a good reason to talk about our art. So thank you. I'm very glad and excited to talk also about my novel. I would also like to show it to you because I'm very proud of it. And indeed, as you said, it is an entire concept in its back. I do believe writers are storytellers. Even if you say a poem or you write a poem, you actually must say a story about your emotions. We should never forget art, literature has to pass on a message, has to pass on an emotion. Otherwise, it's strictly an exercise or even an egotic exercise. So being a writer is a huge chance to tell a story, not only to your peers, but to the generations to come. And that's why what I try to do with my novel, A Meeting on Hedeș Street, because Stendhal said a novel is a mirror walked along a street. So I said, why should I not take this concept and in a double sense, in a double way? Because in the novel, it is a walk along a street, a daily walk along a street, but also that daily walk is doubled by an inner journey. And I think this is the story of everyone's life, the story of everyone's life, because we have our external lives when we do our daily jobs, our daily tasks, but also inside of us, we have to evolve and we have to transcend these daily tasks, and we have to find our strength to believe in an ideal, in a better place. We have to fight inside of us to be a better human being and well, to reach for the stars if you want, even if it is there are great words. Also, in this novel, I try to do as I think every good writer has to do, to write about what it knows best. And also, I tried, and I think in this way, I meet with Fanni and with Ms. Bao Huiyi. I am also a lover of magic realism. Also because I find, especially nowadays with the pandemic troubles, pretty demanding, challenging. And so it is a kind of escape and it is a kind of also help in hoping to a better world. And this can be reached in literature through just a spice of magic.
好，感谢安德里亚。 那么接下来就谈到我们的今天的另外一位嘉宾老师包慧怡老师。谈到您的话，相信国内很多读者都熟知，但是其实又不熟知。您是中英双语作家，然后呢，研究的这个领域呢，被认为是一个冷门的绝学啊，因为普通人很难去对中世纪的英语、中世纪的文学还有它的手抄本感兴趣，可以说是曲高和寡。但是您在这块领域却结出了非常好的果实，相信很多读者，包括我在内，都会很好奇。可能您在别的场合也谈到过，但是这里也请您来再详细的和大家分享一下，为什么您会选择中世纪的世界来作为自己的这种研究所爱呢？为什么它会成为您的缪斯？
谢谢这个很好的问题啊！今天也是很高兴能够和大家一起，虽然是在这个虚拟的世界里啊，一起来讨论写作。我觉得中世纪文化和文学，它首先最吸引我的可能是一种它那个文本的开放性，因为我们知道，在这个古登堡发明印刷术之前，中世纪是一个基于手抄本、手绘的羊皮彩绘手抄本的文化。那么这就意味着，其实每一本书都是绝对独一无二的，而且每一本书不可复制，并且它就是实际上非常耗时耗力，因为它是写在动物的死去的尸体上，写在羊皮上的，但是文字却又是有生命的，然后它的那种细密化又非常的令人目眩神迷，就是说对我来说，它代表了一种理想书籍的一种形式。那么因为书它的制作非常的耗时耗力，然后其实中世纪就有一种这样的，几乎我们可以称之为拜书教，就是书籍崇拜本身。那么所有的写作者，无论他是以评论家或者作家、译者或者其他的诗人，或者说神学写作者，各种各样的写作者，他其实首先是一名书籍制作者，就是一个 bookmaker， 是一个参与到让一本古书变得更厚，并且让很多本古书或者变得更厚、更精美，然后更富有更写得更加精彩的这样一种集体劳作的过程当中去。然后因为我们知道中世纪大部分的作者其实都是匿名的嘛，所以他其实很多时候我们包括他的那个抄本是可以拆卸的，就有的时候可以把这一本书的这几刀纸的内容插入到另几刀纸当中去。那么这就导致它真的很像一本字面意义上的由文本和它的互文性构成的一张巨大的网络，或者说是一个迷宫。我们有的时候很难判定哪里是这一本书的结束的地方，哪里是下一本书开始的地方。然后这个本身其实让人有一种可能现代人会不安啊，因为会觉得那每个作者到底如何确定哪一个作品绝对是属于我的？但是中世纪人没有这样的不安和焦虑，他们并不把作者看得非常是一个高大上的一个位置，他们就是有一种很安心的感觉，把自己就是汇入一个大河当中去，汇入到这个几个世纪以来一直在参与写作的无数的匿名作家的这样一种集体的劳作当中去。然后这种劳作方法以及从中可以得到的一种同时自我是隐形的，但是自我又是在持续的劳作的这种方法，令我本人感到非常的安心啊，也是非常吸引我的一点。所以其实中世纪的作者他往往非常低调的把本人的独立贡献藏起来，宣称自己的作品不过是对他人的翻译或者编著。那么今天可能我们说一个作家没有原创性，这是一个很严重的指责，但是中世纪人没有这种对于原创性的一个迷思。其实所有的抄写员评注者还有世世代代的读者都可以加入到一个文本不断去扩充的一个作者的队伍当中来说，因此这个文本它永远是打开的，永远是邀请别人加入写作的。那么比如说读者拿到一个新的抄本，他可以在页的边缘画他的这个涂鸦呀，或者进行评注啊，就是其实大家都可以和这个位于中心的这个文本进行一种互动。所以在这意义上，羊皮它有呼吸，文本也是有生命的。然后这种文本的鲜活性和开放性是我自己作为一个写作者也特别希望达到的。然后我想简单的刚才两位其实都谈到在这个新冠时期我们的这种 就困难的处境，然后写作可以对他有一种可能我们用到了这个逃离这个词啊 escape。那其实我也是认为我其实非常同意像这个托尔金啊 J.R. Tolkien 啊，他在他的一部这个一个短文叫 On Fairy Tales 啊论仙境奇谈里面，他有说到这个逃离实际上当我不认可我现在的现实的时候，当这个现实极其的糟糕的时候，我的逃离其实可以是一种有主动意义的，就是我为什么不能够就是创造一个更好的世界，然后在那里寻找可能性？如果在现实当中有一些事情做不了，但是我可以，如果我们把这个历史长河的眼光布局于这个一时一世的话，那通过我的写作或者通过这种表面的逃离，其实是在正面直击，是在通过创造一个可能更好的一个世界，然后我们寄希望于未来，然后这个其实我觉得也是这种就是信念吧，可能说也是支持着我在疫情当中。本来因为可能也有2-3年，我本人可能是写诗歌比较多，因为2-3年没有时间，因为工作啊等等就没有写小说啊或者写故事。但是疫情期间，我发现也是这个恢复了这个叙事欲啊，然后这2-3年就一直在写短篇小说。我觉得这个也是我们这一点也很像中世纪人，他们有的时候就是安格鲁萨克逊人啊 ，Anglo-Saxon， 他们很艰难的一种生存条件之下，大家其实都围在篝火旁边给彼此讲故事 ，Beowulf 啊等等这种史诗啊，其实就是诞生于这种其实是一种对于现实的积极的逃离。
感谢包慧怡老师。那么我们刚才3位作家其实都谈到了一个我们共同的处境，就是我们现在面临的新冠的这么一个环境，这是我们正在经历的一个事情。但是我们接下去要和大家谈的其实是3位已经经历过的一些事情，能不能成为你们写作的这种灵感来源？当然，我们还是首先谈到 Fanni 哈，因为我知道您有很多有趣的经历。比如说，您是一个作词人的身份，然后参与过诗歌音乐节的诗歌音乐剧的创作，然后您还是一个世界公民，住在巴黎的匈牙利人，然后您还学习了汉语和日语，所以这种异域文化的感受也是很丰富的。那么，请您来谈一谈，比如说我刚才提到的您所经历的这些领域，有没有什么经历各自不同的，由不同的经历所带来的创作的这种灵感迸发呢？谢谢。
Of course, but first of all, I was so excited with the first question that I forgot to say thank you very much for the invitation. It means a lot to me because, as you have mentioned, I studied Chinese. So to me, it's always a dream come true when I come in contact with this culture. And it's very good because I can brush up on my knowledge, my Chinese knowledge that I learned, I studied 10 years ago. So I think for me, coming into contact with these many different cultures is very important because it's an eye-opener. I think everybody's sort of closed in our own reality. We live inside our own heads, and we are used to thinking that, oh, everybody must be experiencing the world the same way. What I feel must be the general human experience. And it's not at all true. And coming into contact with different cultures, it helps you to question things you take for granted. So, for example, in France, I'm a teacher, and I learned that small children don't have school on Wednesdays. It's not at all the case in Hungary. And you think that school is always the same because you did school for a long time in your life. So you imagine that little children throughout the whole world do the same thing. Or you know, literature, you think that, oh, a novel is the same in Hungarian, in French, in Chinese, but that's not at all true. Like I had to read some Chinese novels for my university studies. I read Water Margin, and it's very, very different in its narrative from the stories I was used to. And I think every writer, and actually every human being, should have this empathy or this curiosity to discover how other people and other cultures think about the world. Another thing I do here in Paris is that I work for an association that works with children who are bilingual. So one parent is French, another parent is Hungarian. And I do little workshops where I tell folk stories, folk tales from around the world. Some of them are Hungarian, but I tell stories from really any country around the world. And for this, I read a lot of folk tales. And what it taught me is that the human experience, the basic human experience, is the same everywhere. We love, we lose people we love, we have a family, there are troubles we overcome. So there are many things we share with others, but the way we experience them, the words we use to describe them, the images can be very different. And it always brings me a great joy when I recognize a story from another country and I say, oh, I know this story, but it's always very interesting to discover the differences. And I think it makes me much a richer person inside to know all these stories. And I think it's a very nice experience, and everybody should try to walk with an open eye and listen to the stories of others, because it can teach us about them, but about ourselves as well. That's it. Thank you.
那么我们接下来请到罗马尼亚的安德里亚女士来谈一谈。我注意到您曾经参加过中国成都的国际诗歌周，然后您来过中国成都，然后您也在很多场合谈到过那段叫做成都奇遇，然后我非常感兴趣，这个成都奇遇对您文学创作有什么影响？可以跟我们分享一下这个故事吗？谢谢。
Oh, thank you for this question. And I would like to take advantage by having this question to say hello to my friends in Chengdu and to the organizer of the great festival there. It's not only that I was actually in China, in Chengdu, at the International Poetry Week, but also after the pandemic has started, I have participated to another two online international poetry festivals in Chengdu. I also had the privilege to have a few of my poems translated and published in the anthology of the International Poetry Festival from Chengdu. As I said in the beginning, I am a great admirer of Chinese culture and literature. It is a millennial culture, and I was reading the poems of the old masters of Chinese poetry, like Du Fu, like Huiyi Bao, translated into Romanian, and I was trying to learn from them. The quality and the talent of a poem is given by the proof of time. So even if today in the year 2021, I sit down and read a poem written by these masters of poetry, it resonates with me. It tells me things, it makes me think, and with me, the most important thing, it was like an exercise and like an introspective and meditative thing. And I was trying to, well, it can turn out as something naive, but I was trying to understand and to go into the mind of the poet and to see what was the word and the feelings and the emotions for him that long ago. And how can I try to not to reach that level of masterpiece, but how can I try to write a great poem today for the people of today? But the goal is to write a great poem for the people of tomorrow and for the people of the day after tomorrow. So when I actually went to Chengdu, it was for me like, walking on sacred land, because all that great culture, the Tang dynasty and everything I knew and I learned about, it was there. It was there for me. So even now when I'm talking about it, I'm very touched. And since then, I keep on writing poems about that experience because it was a very profound one for me. And then I was very impressed about the people and about the great importance they give to culture and to poetry. It is something that is losing here in Europe. And there I can see that poets are at a high level and that culture is still a very important thing. It was a dream experience for me, and everyone there were so great and open and very friendly and very serious and devoted to everything they did, even if it was a small thing or a very important thing. So it was a life experience for me, a life lesson for me.
谢谢安德里亚，非常精彩的分享哈。那么刚才因为2位来自国外的作家和我们分享了他们的经历，对他们的成为他们灵感的这种缪斯，那么又要谈到包老师了哈，因为我遇到您就是总是忍不住想问中世纪的故事。对，虽然刚才您其实已经谈到了很多跟中世纪有关的事，但是还是在这个话题下，想请您来继续的聊一聊，就是在您深入这些中世纪的世界里，就是他们的手抄本，他们的文化或者一些神秘的东西的时候，在这些东西中研究的时候，有没有什么特别的领域？比如说碰见了中世纪的某一个文学人物，或者是某一个文学事件，会让您特别的想要继续去探索。为什么？谢谢。
谢谢这个很好的问题啊！我其实一直很着迷的是这个一个主题是中世纪的地图和地图上的怪物。然后因为中世纪的地图它和我们现代的那种找路指南或者 Google Map 是不太一样的，它其实是一种故事地图，它其实既是历史又是地理，然后收集着可以说创世以来的一切他们认为值得记载的故事。它是一种道德化、宗教化的一种图文叙事，也可以说是一种由色彩、事件和这个信仰概念等等织成的一种百科全书，像博物志一样的。然后因为在中世纪的时候没有一个讲地图的词嘛，他们用的一个拉丁文词叫 Mappa Mundi ，Mappa Mundi 就是叫世界之布，就是the world's clothes， 就是一块布的那个布，那片布啊，然后它就特别像我们中国的这个百纳贝一样的就是上面什么东西都有各种各样的保存在上面。然后其实他们很有趣，就是欧洲的中世纪的地图编绘学家会把那些他们认为是怪物的东西就这种 monster 或者说叫 humanoid， 就异形人，他们是人，但是他们缺了点什么或者多了点什么，然后这种东西群魔乱舞的东西，他们会把它堆到地图的边缘去，也就是它堆到比如说非洲或者说亚洲总之因为他们当时只知道3个州嘛，然后就是说会把那些怪兽就是隔离到用就真正意义上的隔离，有的时候他会把它放在一个小框里或者有的时候放在一条这个袋子里面，放到世界的边缘去。那么其实这些怪物其实特别有意思，他们某种意义上你可以说当然简单的说它体现了当时的地图编绘家对于异域或者远方的一种焦虑，然后同时焦虑和不安但是与此同时也体现他们对那种异质文化的对他者的一种兴趣和迷恋，但是他们又需要远远的去就是要把他们放到这个世界的边缘去。然后我在疫情期间可能也一直在写这个关于怪物这个地图上的怪物的论文以及相关的故事我经常在想人们这个创造这个怪物实际上一直为怪物所迷恋很多时候是在怪物当中看到自己，就是实际上人类和这个怪物之间的这个边界其实是一直是非常模糊的。然后我们 实际上就是凝视着这个所谓的 monster 或者 monstrosity 这个东西本身，其实是不断的在发现，在定义，重新问这个问题：什么是我？什么是他者？什么是可怕的东西？怪物经常是来自于人和动物的混合，或者动物和动物的混合，或者各种不同的物种的一个混合。然后其实这种恐惧啊，以及这种迷恋，它与其说是塑造了一种这个想象当中的虚无缥缈的东西，它更多的是告诉我们自己是谁。就是所以其实就是越接近这个地图边缘啊，他们画的怪物就所谓的越非我族类，或者叫 non-human， 或者不是我，这样就是它越来越多具有那种意志性啊 otherness。然后其实在疫情期间，很多时候我们会发现我们会看到一些令人灰心的沮丧的事实，就是可能人变成只能够肯定自己的人性，而不能够在其他的人遥远的人身上，人越是遥远啊，就好像越发抽象，然后那些人就仿佛某种意义上就被写入了这个怪物的谱系啊，他们不是这个我们啊，他们和我们之间越来越缺少这样一种共情的一个可能性，就这个特别像这个中世纪的这个地图编绘者，他们出于这个对远方的一个恐惧也好，焦虑也好，但是又所以会把这些这个怪物画到边地套，然后远离这个世界中心啊。这个意义上就是怎么说呢？我觉得实际上我们这种怪物有的时候只是我们尚未能命名的物种，然后实际上过去的怪物都会变，比如说在这个以前的古书里面啊，认为大象都是一种怪物，然后但是后来发现，哎，大象是一种真实存在的动物。很多时候通过这个，比如大家一定读过这个但丁的《神曲》啊，地狱篇里面，其实很多的这个怪人啊，什么反过来脚走路的人啊，什么没有头的人啊，他们其实都是像人，像这个但丁这个朝圣者举起一面镜子，其实就是所谓的这个怪诞诞生于我们自己的这个脑海本身，它也是对人性的一次检验，其实是要求我们不断的在怪物当中辨认出我们自身，然后这个过程才是一个更少的去区分什么人是他者，什么人就是我们啊，然后更多的是可以把大家就是我觉得在这个时候可能有的时候在看着这个怪兽的时候啊，就越来越觉得这个太像我们现在的这种预言了，就是其他人都是怪兽啊，我们自己是人。这个我觉得如果我们有的时候在中世纪的这个一些作品里面，我们会找到一些反过来的灵感，因为他们其实始终都很清楚其实这些怪兽它都是这个世界里的这个存在的一个合法的一个存在的一部分啊，然后很可能从怪物的眼里看来，我们自己也是怪兽。那么而且很有趣的是，中西对比的话，比如说这个他们特别喜欢像老普林尼啊 Pliny the Elder 啊，到这个中世纪很多手稿里都出现那种无头人嘛，然后他们管它叫这个 Blamy 啊。那这个其实在我们《山海经》里有一个特别像的人，就是刑天啊，因为他的那个两个眼睛也是长在这个肚子上啊，但长在这个乳的地方啊，然后嘴是肚脐嘛，然后我们会看到，其实大家想象的这种怪诞啊，缺失点什么，然后部分的东西多一点什么，或者重复点什么，这个东西其实无论我们间隔多远，很多时候的想象或者这种构成机制，其实它是有限的，也是相通的。其实这个东西我们在不同的地方如何去塑造怪物，我们如果可以略过那个表面的怪诞，去看到底下的话，我们会发现，其实就是从古到今，还有在从东到西不同的地方，我们其实最终将我们连接在一起的是我们的人性，并不是那些想象出来的这个意志性或者怪诞性，所以我觉得，就是可能在这个过去2年期间啊，就是这个可能是对我更大的一个就是我自己它连接我的研究和写作的一个比较有趣的一个主题。
谢谢包老师。在分享了这么多你们曾经的经历，对于你们的文学或者说是创作所产生的灵感之后，我们紧接着会我相信大家也会好奇另外一个问题，可能这个问题对于3位作家来说都不是问题哈，因为我们会谈到身份。在介绍的时候谈到，Fanni 呢是作家、诗人、词人和老师。 然后安德里亚呢是诗人、作家、文学评论家和出版人。那么包老师是双语作家、学者、教师、诗人、评论家。所以每一个女作家，你们都有诸多的身份。那么我接下来的问题是想请3位来谈一谈，你们如何来平衡或者说打破这种诸多身份之间的限制，并且在这种跨界的这种身份中寻找你们的缪斯。谈到身份问题，谢谢。
Very interesting question. Thank you very much. I think my goal in life, in everything I do, is to discover. I'm very curious about everything and I want to know stuff. So it's something that fuels my writing, my reading, but also my teaching. And what I try to do while teaching, while telling stories, while writing, is that to transmit this curiosity and this knowledge to the others. So I think these are just the different sides of the same diamond. That's how I imagine it in my head, that it's the same thing, but I use different media. But for example, I also try to find what is the subject I would like to talk about, and I try to find the best vessel for it. So there are feelings I think I can better express in song, because music helps to transmit the message. And then there are things that are more complex, which I would like to explore for a longer time. And those thoughts I write in novels. But really, if I just have to mention one thing, it's this curiosity and this desire to experience and discover the world, which then I try to transmit in multiple different ways. Thank you. Okay, I think I've said everything.
As you were speaking the question, I was making a quick introspection because I never thought so precise and so exactly at this theme. I was starting by writing poems in my first grade of school, because earlier when I was at the kindergarten, my biggest dream was to learn to read and to write. And when I could do this, I didn't know yet all the letters, but when I knew enough letters, I tried with those letters to make words and to write a poem. So I accomplished my biggest dream. And since then, I couldn't quit writing. And at least here in Romania, we have this belief that poetry is the easiest way to express literary, especially if you are in your early stages of a writer. But also, if we look back in the history of literature and in the history of developing the art of literature, poetry were at the beginning of literature. And poems, even if they had a sacred meaning in the beginning, they were the first to accompany people in their evolution. And then I saw poetry has a frame, even if it is modern poetry with white rhymes, with white lines. You still have to respect the rules of poetry when you want to express something. And as I, as a writer, and as I, as a human being, as I evolve, I found that for a lot of my experiences, poetry was not enough. It was a good vehicle to express those emotions and experiences, but it was not enough. So I started by writing short stories, and it is also I don't think it's only a Romanian cultural idea. I think it's universal. When you want to write novels, you already must have live a good part of life and to have a bulk of experiences and to have a history as a person and also a history of your own sorrows and journey with difficulties you have passed through in order to be able to write a good novel, because a good novel, it's not a short story, it's not a poem. It has a great architecture. It has more characters. It's like a tapestry where you're the master of a world you're creating there. So you have to manage very well the art of literature. And I think you also must have knowledge of literary history in order not to reinvent the wheel, and in order to know yourself and to bring your voice and your originality to the benefit of people. I think it's very important not to forget that we write for the people. We never must forget that. And I think in order to close the circle, there comes the fairy tale writing. And it is not true that writing for children is an easy thing. If a writer starts with this idea, well, he starts patronizing the children. But the children are much closer to that magic realism we were talking about in the beginning. And a writer must have the instruments, and if you're on the mindset, to be able to enter the world and the universe of a child. Because, and I think this is very, very important, we have the task as adults and as writers to help a child to stay on the right track. We must not forget a child is a future adult, is a future member of the society. I always think that I do not write literature only for the sake of it and only for the beauty of it, but I want to give my contribution to the world. Maybe these are very great words, but if I can influence a child with my work, with my fairy tales, I want to give him hope, and I want to give him a right and full of light view of his future and of the world. It is very important, and it is our duty as writers to be careful of what we write, of what we publish, of what we give to our readers. And this is why, you see, it was like a organic evolving in all these areas of literature.
谢谢安德里亚女士。那么我们请包老师来谈谈这个问题。
就我觉得这个我自己的话，可能主要因为日常的时间工作关系，我们现在处在一个 publish or perish 的一个年代，所以可能我日常生活里面80%到90%的时间都在写学术专著或者写论文，做研究，这些其实是一个特别考验耐心的，就是有的时候你有一个灵光，你有一个灵感，然后那个灵感藏在最深处，但是你为它要写，可能要做准备，以及要写很多可能只是在做铺垫啊，或者在做文献综述啊，这种就需要最后以一种非常曲折的方式抵达你要表达的那个东西。学术写作它，尤其是现代学术写作的体力，它有这样一种要求啊，导致你实际上它怎么说呢？就是有很多东西你没有办法把它纳入到这种格式严谨的学术写作当中去，但是我们依然有可为，因为无论是这个学术写作也好，还是个人的创作也好，它其实都是一种智力劳动，然后它也是一种长期的 耐心的一种观察，无论我们观察或者就是 research 或者研究的是文本文献也好，是异域的文化也好，还是研究的是人心也好，所以这一点我其实也很同意。其实刚才两位也都提到了，实际上最终其实所有这些都是一切形式的创作，虽然是有不同的媒介，但它其实是同样的一种是一个人的心智的通过这个不同的面向折射出来的，选择了不同的方法去表达自己想要诉说的这个东西。那从这个经验上来说，我觉得在一个工种卡壳的时候，转向另一个工种，它对我的这个身心健康是非常有帮助的。有的时候经常可能你在这个就是学术写作的时候，有一个东西没有办法调研清楚，没法推进，或者你缺少一个关键的一个证据，但是它你可以用别的方法，比如你可以把它写成一个短篇小说，你可以或者如果它体量不够的话，你可以用一个诗歌的方法去表达它，然后但是这个产出的一个作品，它具有的性质会跟你原先如果是作为学术写作完全不一样，但是它会获得一个新的生命，就是它有的时候这个我们开始写的时候，我并不是那种一开始写就很清楚自己，尤其是在写诗的时候，我不是那种能够就是写第一行的时候就完全知道最后是什么样子的人。然后对我来说，写作的魅力它恰恰在于它的这个旅途是未知的，是开放的，是像炼金术一样，你最后知道不知道炼出了什么，但你知道一定不是黄金。所以就是这个东西我觉得刚才这个 Andrea 也提到大家的这个起点啊，其实我自己也是，就是很小的时候，可能我们都是那种词疯子，就是那种对就是 word mania，就是对那个语言或者词语有执念的人。然后所以在很小的时候，当然为了骗自己入睡，或者作为一个小孩啊，觉得生活就已经觉得很苦了，然后开始要给自己编故事，安慰自己。然后所以一开始当然是用自己的母语，但是逐渐稍微学了一点外语以后，我个人就是因为对语言本身也特别感兴趣，然后后来也是初生牛犊不怕虎吧，可能无论是英语啊，还是后来的二外啊，各种各样的一些包括古代语言，那么刚刚学了可能100个单词足够遣词造句的时候，就会开始用它来写诗或者是编故事。然后因为我知道这个东西肯定是有很多很多的错误，然后也绝对不会拿给别人看，但是我觉得在这个用它去产出意义的这个过程中，本身是一个最好的一个输入，就是这个过程它不仅仅是学习语言，它更多的是一个进入一种意志的一个文化的，他们去如何思考，就是其实语言是由不同的语言它背后是完全不同的看待世界的方式和思考的方法。然后我觉得就是借着语言这条藤蔓，然后哪怕在刚开始自己的这个语言能力还很有限的时候，就能够顺着那条藤蔓试图去一窥那个不同的一个意志的世界的那种心智，那种头脑，这个东西对我来说是特别迷人的一件事情，也是对我来说是一个很大的一个写作的动力。那么刚才其实大家都有提到自己在疫情期间的写作，我也是有在确实就是发现有诗歌不能做的东西啊，虽然自己就是创作的话写最多的是诗歌，但是后来发现的确啊有一些更复杂更加需要一整个世界来支撑的东西啊。那比如说最近可能有在写一个就是一个图像小说，一个 graphic novel， 那么它可能有6个世界，然后这个6个世界的当然不同的年代不同的地方不同的文化，波斯印度欧洲啊都有，但实际上你是通过要为每一个世界发生的事情要去创造一种新的文体，就是每个世界的文体都是不同的，叙述的方法也是完全不一样的，但是他们彼此之间的是有一条共同的现在，其实它看起来都和现在没有关系，但是其实它都和我们目前这2年里啊，世界仿佛掉进了一个这个洞一样啊，就是这种平行这种 在一个危机时代的一个精神危机有关系。但是我觉得有的时候我们要抵达一种真相的一个最好的方法，恰恰是不能去从字面上去直接的去诉说真相，我们有的时候必须要绕着弯子走，有的时候必须要去在一个不同的层面上去开拓这个语言的可能性。所以我觉得就是这种写作可能有的时候我把所有的写作努力称之为一种叫星丛写作，就是 constellation 像星座一样的写作，然后我们在不同的文体里进行实验，然后试图往那个中心点再努力去走一点，然后最后是能够看看可不可以为自己以及为未来的读者打开一种可能性的大门，无论是关于文本本身的可能性，还是存在本身的可能性。那么我自己觉得无论哪一种文体，可能性是写作当中我最看重的一个东西。
好的，谢谢包老师的精彩回答。那么我们今天的讨论活动呢，也要趋于尾声了。今天这场活动叫做寻找文学的缪斯。非常感谢3位嘉宾作家和我们的精彩分享，他们是来自匈牙利的范尼索托，来自罗马尼亚的安德里亚 H 哈迪斯，以及来自中国的包慧怡老师。感谢3位老师对于今天这个话题的精彩分享，谢谢。